Hi everyone. Thanks very much if you're tuning in to um, this live stream today. First of all, let me introduce myself. I realize you don't know maybe who I am. So I'm James Ledley. I am a guitar, ukulele, and bass tutor from Northern Ireland. So I started the group, the ukulele group, just to get everybody's playing that much better. I also have a guitar group. So if you're interested in guitar, let me know and I can send you the link and you can join it too, because there's regular live training in that group as well. So, yep, the whole idea is I'm trying to build the group up and get everybody's playing that bit better, get the rhythm sorted out, get all the stuff so you can get playing your favorite music. So I have like a 3-step method, which is build the foundation, learn the essential skills, play your favorite music. It's basically that sort of straightforward. So what we're going to cover today on the back of the recent poll is chord changing problems, which I know both on the ukulele and on guitar always cause problems. So I'm going to run through. I'm just going to share the screen here for a second, and you can see. Give me 2 seconds. There's a PDF that I have here, and you can comment after the training. I can send this through. Let me know you want to get a hang of it, or get a copy of it. So what we're doing here then is going to run through a few points first. I'm not going to go through all the detail in this. I'm going to get straight into, but I've got some chord examples in here I want to explain why I'm using these. So it says here at the start, point 1 then, work on your chords. So first thing you want to do is make sure the chords you are working on all sound clean. We don't want any chords with muted notes. And I would say too, just if anybody's watching right now live, if you could pop a wee comment in, just make sure you can hear everything, and you can hear me, and everything's running. Seems to be running smoothly at the minute. So, as I say, make sure all your chords sound clean. Some chords harder than others. You might find that G gives a bit of trouble. I know it does. It's the equivalent of a D on guitar, and it can give a bit of trouble. But the great thing with ukulele is that you've got some fun one-fingered chords, and your F chord is easy, whereas guitar it's a lot harder. So the easier chords, as I've listed here, as you can see on the screen, are the C chord. So you may have covered some of these already. Now the fingers you use in chords is very important. Even though they're one-finger chords, there's a method in using certain fingers, and that helps you with chord transitions and what comes next. So the third finger is playing this. So if I had to go to a G next, for example, these fingers are sitting, hovering above the strings, ready to come down and then shift this. Always be thinking ahead about which chord's coming next, which is why we're using certain fingerings. So I appreciate that everybody's probably got different size ukuleles. I started on a soprano. This is a concert, and I know tenor is the next one up, and there's also baritone. But I changed to a concert because I just wanted a bit more room. The body on a soprano is quite small, but it is something to think about if you're in the group and you haven't actually picked a ukulele yet. Think about maybe getting a concert, or I think I might upgrade to a tenor maybe soon. But I do like this one at the minute. There's enough room here for most of your fingers, and you probably noticed if you've ever tried guitar, there's a lot more space on the ukulele for your fingers than there is on guitar. And it's a great instrument for kids to play with. So, right. So we've got C, A minor, second finger. Now, as I said, chords come in keys, songs come in keys. And when you learn the common keys, which is part of building the foundation and the essential skills and stuff that I would always teach, then it's a case of just transferring what you know from the chords and the chord groups and keys to songs. For example, just to give you an idea, so thinking of a tune like C, F, A minor, and G are quite common. You see that combination, all different things from Bob Marley to, if you've checked out my YouTube videos, if you haven't, let me know, I'll send you the link. Lewis Capaldi, when you're doing finger styling, all this kind of thing. So, right, so I've purposely picked the chords here. Not only are they slightly easier, but they are commonly used together. So we've got C, A minor, D minor, which is just your F chord in ukulele with your third finger underneath your second finger. So string 2 fret 1, string 4, fret 2, string 3, fret 2. And then we take that away to, that's the F chord then. Now, as I say, G causes problems. If it causes problems, you can do a G sus2, which is slightly easier, which is a G with the second finger missing. It still sounds nice in ukulele, and the great thing in ukulele, an awful lot of chords, you can strum 4 strings. Guitar, you're keeping an eye on the ones you don't want to hit more often. Okay, then we've got D. So we're moving through these. So we've got D. Now D, if you've got anyway sort of big fingers or big hands, it can be quite awkward. You can also do it that way, which makes room for your little finger in here. But generally it's usually marked out like that. And then we've got A. Nice and easy, similar to your F, just on string 3 and 4. First finger, second finger on the 4th. Now I have marked on E minor. The reason I put E minor on this is you mightn't be on E minor yet. Another really common key is the key of G. G, E minor. Various ways of doing E minor. C and D. If you think about Stand By Me. Right, so G, E minor, then C, then D, and back around again, and just the same 4 chords the whole way through. So that is one to think about learning. You can get it that way, which is string 1, first finger, string 2 open, string 3, third finger. You can also have it where you add that note on. This is all down to the makeup of each of the chord. And then you can have the totally movable one, which is all 4 fingers. So we're taking the 3rd finger up to the 4th string, putting the pinky finger underneath, and then that can be moved. So that'll be E minor, F sharp, G minor and stuff if you need to move it, but that's a bit beyond this training at the minute. Okay, so I'm mentioning here about keys, so I'd recommend getting down next. The keys are C and G, and the key of D. So the key of D, you could play loads and loads of songs with D, A, and G. Like Bad Moon Rising. Right? So, as I say here, I like to think of songs from a musical song-oriented point of view. Most popular chords and progressions always teach everyone to get into these as soon as possible. I usually always teach that way. Remember, the music could be a bit easier mini chords, which is very important to think about. Not all chords have to be all fingers. I mean, that could be a mini F if you needed to get to a chord change quickly. All right, as I was saying there, the G sus2 becomes G major. Okay, and I mentioned earlier about thinking ahead. Now, visualizing the chords, the shape of the chord before you lay it down. When I was learning, for example, scales on guitar, I knew that I knew these scales when I could sit watching TV and think, right, C major, and just play it in my mind with not even touching the instrument. So after a while, you should be able to visualize these, where your fingers are going, outside of actually playing. Now, I do mention here also about, where is it? Yeah, that some tutors even recommend practicing in the dark, which sounds really crazy, but what you're doing is you're honing in your sense of touch rather than dependent on your sight and your touch at the same time. This makes a big difference to things. So, for example, looking away and feeling where your fingers should go. Obviously, you have to use the chord charts first, but after a while, you should be able to play it without actually sitting and looking where your fingers are going. And if it means walking them around the fretboard, that's not a problem. It's just taking the time and the patience to do that. And the great thing is, to say with ukulele, they're all very next to each other. For the chords we're working on, we're not getting into bar chords or anything yet. This is just major chords. And then there's a couple of things here about don't lift the finger before you know where to place your fingers in the next chord. So again, visualization in your mind and on the fretboard. Now this is something here, point 3, that's overlooked an awful lot. Arm movement. When you're watching somebody play, the chances are you're not keeping an eye on what their arm is doing. You're keeping an eye on where their fingers are going. But if I play through a few chords, keep an eye on my arm. This is going to make a big difference, especially on guitar, but it's the same for ukulele. So if I was to play that G, E minor, C, D again from Stand By Me, right away to make the E minor chord, the elbow has come in. Now it's going to go out slightly for C, then back in and slightly under. So don't try making your chords with your arms sitting in the same place. That's a bit of a disaster and it won't work out very well. You want to make sure that your arm is moving in and out. Now again, if you want to chat with me about this and find out more about some of these points, I'm going to put the live in the guide section of the group, but it'll be available in the group after this lesson for you to watch whenever you're free to watch it. I'll put some things underneath, and if you want to get in touch, I'll put a link. You can message me directly if you want to have a chat about some of this stuff. Or I would say, if you want to have a chat about the way forward and really get your ukulele playing going properly, then I am developing a teaching program at the minute that is working on those three. It's a 3-step method, as I said earlier. Build the foundation, learn essential skills, and then play your favorite music. And all of this that we're working on in these trainings will be in there, and loads more. Okay, so maybe more about that at the end. So, right, important thing number 4 is to relax. You don't want to be tensed up and sort of getting really frustrated with this. If you do get frustrated changing chords, I used to find just put the instrument down, walk away, get a cup of tea, go for a walk or something, and come back. It's always easier doing that than sitting. I remember learning guitar, and when I was learning guitar, I learned guitar first. And finding bar chords really frustrating and getting really annoyed that I couldn't get them. And I thought, right, the only thing to do here is set it down, come back later. It's always easier when you come back refreshed after a bit of a break from it. Okay, I'm mentioning here about relaxing your neck and shoulders. Now you see you've got the strap here. So if you haven't got a strap on the ukulele, it does make a bit of difference because it just makes it easier to sort of get it to the height that you want. I wouldn't have it up. You see people playing up very high. I kind of like a bit more, slightly lower, but it takes the pressure off your arm actually holding it. Even though they're quite light on guitar, you can rest it on your leg, but ukulele being as small as it is, it's not always that easy. So also relax your neck and shoulders. Don't raise your shoulders. Avoid or release any tension in the arms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Yeah, don't want to be tensed up at all when you're playing any instrument. Well, especially this and guitar. And then I mentioned there about lead in with your first finger when changing. This is very important when you're changing chords. Don't get into the habit of making a G, for example, backwards, as I would think, third, second, first. Think of it as first, second, third. So if we took a difficult change, we'd have C. Say you were moving common chord progression as I was doing earlier with C. Right, C to F. You don't want to go second to first. Lead in with your first finger all the time, and that's going to go for your bar chords as well. So if we had a harder chord change, say D, let me think of a song or even a progression. Say you had, right, with or without you, U2, right off the top of my head. So D, or steady rhythm. Now, bar, with the third finger on for B minor. Now, massive jump there. So if you can see that, coming from the bar, first finger leads. That's what creates the muscle memory. The fingers then start to remember. It sounds crazy, but the fingers start to remember the shape after a while. And then you just find you're just laying the shape down. Hopefully most of you in the group are finding ukulele. If you have tried guitar, you're finding that ukulele is easier than guitar. I know from some of the membership questions, some people commented that they had worked on guitar before. I think the simple fact that you've got 4 strings and they're spaced out makes it that bit more, easier to learn. Yep. So I'm talking there too, very important. It says here about be lazy. Now that obviously doesn't mean, lie around and do nothing all day. It means be sort of, I suppose it's along the lines of being relaxed, so try to keep your finger movement to a minimum. So what we're trying to do is don't lift your fingers off really high when you're changing. Control them, try and keep them down about 10, maybe 15 mil off the fretboard. So think about in your mind, think of more you're sort of dragging your fingers about rather than lifting them way up and off, because it's totally unnecessary. It wastes precious time when you're sitting with a rhythm and you're trying to play this rhythm, say down, 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 up, or down, down, up, down, up. And you know there's a big chord change coming up, say eventually you get on to B minor. If you're going, right, we could lower the height of that change. Right, so you're thinking, right, keep the finger low, then in the next chord. Now I know I'm not talking about B minor. In this lesson, I'm not bringing bar chords in, but that's where the advantage comes in. You're training yourself up early on for those harder changes in bar chords and stuff later. Okay, so go slowly. This is the thing. Patience is really important when you learn an instrument, as I have learned over the years. When I first started guitar, I originally started on drums, then went to bass guitar, then ended up on guitar. So while I was playing drums, I started to learn guitar and had a cheap electric and actually a classical guitar with strings way out here, sitting all the way out here. And it was really hard, especially bar chords. D minor on guitar is G minor on ukulele. That caused me a lot of problems on guitar. Actually, D on guitar is G on ukulele, and it caused problems as well. So I'm not surprised people saying about G on the ukulele, giving some trouble. So what I've done here is, I'm not sure if you've covered counting rhythms. We will do that. I just did a training on Thursday night in the Get Playing Guitar group about counting rhythms as well. So if you want, you could get the link to that and watch that. I might be doing one in here as well pretty soon. I'm just going through the poll at the minute and keeping an eye on what problems everybody are sort of having right now. If you haven't voted, that's very important. If you haven't voted on the poll, try and vote on that recent poll. There will be other ones coming up, but that one covers quite a few things. If there's anything that you're finding difficult, you haven't actually, that's not on there, add it in. I know somebody mentioned, one of the members of the group mentioned about which rhythm to choose in a song. Really important. We'll cover that too. That can be difficult when you learn the important rhythms. Then you've got a selection to pick from. There are certain rhythms that come up all the time. So I'm not sure what rhythms you're working on at the minute, but if you're anyway struggling, we'll cover that in another training. But a quick tip would be to just strip it right back to like 4 downs. So in this, we're going to do a few examples down. There's a few examples down here. These are the chords we're going to use. You may or may not have covered all of these so far. So to get a good solid foundation on your chords, just when we're talking about that, you want to get majors, minors, and sevenths down, but you can be playing thousands of songs with just a bunch of major chords. So for example, as we've talked about, C, A minor, F, and G. And obviously when you're looking at these are the fingers here, or the chords. We've got no X's on here because there's no strings that we don't hit in any of these, which is why I picked these ones. There will be chords where you won't be hitting string 4. Luckily in the ukulele you can just strum. That's why I like the way it's set up. You can strum 4 strings and get your rhythm hand relaxed. Now, if you've done any music before or seen anything, I'll quickly go through. These are just crotchets worth one beat each. Now, sorry if that's slightly out of sync, but it should be beat 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just the way that has that PDF was made. It's kind of knocked it out a bit. But basically what we're doing here, this top progression is very like what's in the beginner's cheat sheet as well. If you haven't got it, let me know. If you've joined the group, you should have got a welcome post that would have had that in it. What's on the back end of the beginner's cheat sheet is Knocking on Heaven's Door, Bob Dylan. I've rearranged it for the key of C. It's in the key of G. So running through this, we're going C. So we're counting out 1, 2, 3, 4. Then comes that tricky G. It can be sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're into D minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So moving from C to G, talking about transitioning. C, 1, 2, 3, 4. First finger's ready to go for string 3, and then we drop in the second finger and bring the third over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, very important when you're transitioning chords, Don't wait to get the chord shape in and then start strumming. Keep the rhythm going constantly. I'm going to put a metronome on here and see what I mean. What we want to do, if you haven't used one of these, a metronome, it just taps out the beat, a steady beat. In this case, we're using 4 beats in the bar, right? So we're just going to run through this. Now, even if you get something like this happening, so right, now you notice there, I wasn't on the chord in time, but the right hand will always drive the left hand forward, and you have to trust in that. That's what happens, and it does seem like at the start, oh, I'm never going to get onto this chord change, but you will. The right hand, the left hand, the way I always say to my students, I teach, by the way, privately and in local schools, and have done for 18 years, so I've covered a lot of different things in that time. The left hand always catches up to the right hand, always, right? So trust that will happen. As long as you take things nice and gently at the start, don't rush into it. So if you're a bit late on D minor, as long as this is going, that's the main thing. Right, so if you did want to work on that, by the way, knocking on heaven's door, you could actually use this rhythm for it. It actually is like an D minor. Second time round, just switch the D minor out for an F. And it's a nice one to get going. It's not really much faster. It's probably like that speed roughly. Right, so you want to find out more about that, send me a message and we're gonna have a chat and we're gonna discuss that. Right, so I've purposely put down here C, G sus2. As I was saying earlier, this chord change is quite common. Earlier I was playing C, F, M minor, G. This one, now just to explain what's happening, these are 2 quavers, 2 half beats. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, so we're going 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down. Now I like that change. Nice steady change, because the A minor finger 2 is already on. Just add on to complete the F. And I would say if you're finding some of these chords difficult, chords can be stripped back. The only disadvantage is that sometimes you end up hitting less strings, but big advantage to the ukulele. I just see how out of sync that is. Sorry about that, I didn't notice that. Yeah, obviously that's meant to be down, 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 up, down. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's whatever way this PDF is. It's actually that font I used. That won't happen again because I worked out last night why that was happening. What was I saying there? Yeah, you can strip chords back to 1 finger chords to make things easier. I do an awful lot on the guitar teaching because some guitar chords are quite tricky to get. It just mentions there about the G sus2. There's the link on this PDF. You can, if you want to copy this, you can control and click on that. It'll take you straight through if you haven't already got it, and you can sign up and get that. Okay, so I do mention here at the bottom about if there's any issues you're having right now and you've been frustrated with ukulele for a while and you want to get moving with it. There's a couple of guys that are getting private coaching right now, and they're also considering joining the ukulele program, which isn't just a course. It's the program is there as a resource with all the video lessons and all that in it, and then I'm coaching every week in it. So you've got some accountability and somebody basically to answer to and something to work on. So we've got a private support group that's outside of the big group, and in that group, that's where all the training is going to be. The coaching will be in there and all the coaching videos and all that stuff. So we're just building it up at the minute. If you want more information about that and you want to get your free 15-minute ukulele acceleration call, as I say, send me a message at the bottom of the PDF. This is the direct link to me on Messenger. You can have a chat. We can discuss what problems you're having. I can find out where you are, what you've covered so far, and hopefully we can get a plan together, a custom plan to get you moving forward and give you a good solid foundation so you're not guessing anymore, going on YouTube and hoping to get, I want to learn this, but The problem with that is you're not getting any feedback. Nobody's saying this is what you should or shouldn't do. So totally up to yourself. If you prefer not to, then the all the training will be there in the group. At a later stage, you might decide you want to get some help. That's perfectly fine, no problem. So I'll be putting this link to myself in the post when the video goes live, and there will be more training soon. As I said, this PDF is free. You just if you comment after the video that you want the just comment chord changing, and I will private message it through to you, and you can download this and have a good look at it and work through it. Now, obviously, in this training, we're not getting deep into things. I just wanted to cover the basics. So if we recap on what we were doing, quick recap. Obviously, work on the important chords first. That's as we're saying, the ones on the screen there. Then we've got visualizing the chords, where you're trying to visualize the chord away from the ukulele, or try playing it using some feeling to get the chord down. Right, so we're feeling where your fingers go. Your ear will tell you, because you'll hit the wrong notes, and there's something wrong if you're not hitting the wrong notes. You should hit the wrong notes. So if we went, you're going, oh, it doesn't sound right. So you do want that to be happening. Arm movement, in and out chords. C chord would be out. Anything where you're using 3 frets, your arm comes in. For example, E minor, bar chords. Look how tight that is there, if you can see that. Elbows right in. Arm movement, yeah, that's what we're talking about then. Relax, very important. Don't sit down with the ukulele really frustrated, because it won't help your practicing. It definitely won't. Leading fingers, always lead with the first finger when you're starting off. And of course, as it says there, be lazy, but that just basically means just to relax and think about keeping your fingers really low when you're changing. Work on the finger height off the fretboard. Is a very, very important thing. That's a crucial thing for chord changing. Don't let them drift up high. Even half an inch is slightly too high off the fretboard. Keep them really low, and that'll be easier with practicing more slowly. Don't rush things. And I know a lot of people, just on that, we're going to finish up here soon, but this island strum, a lot of people talk about it. It's a difficult strum, the down, down, up, up, down, up. And you might realize, but that's contributing to harder chord changes. So if you're struggling with that strum, strip that back a bit, even to down, down, up, up, down. But it's the double up that causes problems. But in a future rhythm training, I'm going to be covering the essential rhythms that you need, that I see over and over and over again in loads and loads of songs. So I'll give you some tips for that. And as it says here, go slowly. These are the chords here. And if you're not sure about reading the chord chart, if you're unsure about that, just to explain, I should have done that at the start. This is the string here, right? So guitar, we could say that's the thickest, but it's actually not. It's the 4th. The first string's down here where the 3 is, and the number is the fret, and also the finger. 2nd fret, 2nd finger there. Big advantage in ukulele, you can hit all 4. Okay, I hope you've took some useful tips from that. If you've any questions or anything, pop them in below. When once we finish the video, Facebook will render it out. It'll be available in the group probably in about an hour or so's time, and you can always watch it later. And if you need help, as I say, if you need some help, you can book in your call with me, and or just message me, and we can take it from there, and I can give you some tips and advice to hopefully get you moving on a lot more quickly, and you won't be struggling on your own. All right, thanks very much if you've tuned in, and if you're watching the later repeat, thanks very much for that too, and I'll see you talk to you in the group and in the next live. Okay, thank you. Bye.